Welcome to UCStrategies Executive Insights. I'm Jim Burton, and I'm joined today by Madsen with DataLink Networks, this gentleman here, and Faiz from Carmichael.
Asim Faiz.
Excuse me, Asim Faiz, yes. And if you've seen my podcast before, you know I always get everybody's name wrong, so I apologize for that in advance. But what's really interesting about it, we're at the Lync conference, and so clearly these gentlemen are obviously involved with Microsoft, and by the way, they're also an HP partner. But one of the things that I found fascinating is that we all think about Lync and how Microsoft started off with it being for the large enterprise customers. In fact, when they started, they only went after people 2,500 users and above. Well, I actually know a little secret is that Microsoft has sold a lot of products that are in the mid-market and small market. And a lot of people don't think that's happening, but there's a really thriving market out there. And so that's why we have this podcast today, because we can talk about that and how it happened. So why don't we start off a little bit about your company, and then you can lead us into your relationship with Carmichael, and we'll get into your feedback too.
Sure. DataLink Networks is, we're an HP partner, and we're a Microsoft partner. And we're a general IT shop doing a lot of integration and also maintaining customers' networks. And we've been working with Carmichael for the last 8-10 years, being their preferred IT infrastructure provider. Over the last 5 years, DataLink has invested heavily in the Lync technology. We were one of the first partners in Southern California that got Lync certified. So that has been one of our new practices that builds on top of our virtualization and exchange practice, and we kind of got into the telecommunications aspect of it.
Well, so I want another question there. What was your practice around before? What were you using for voice communications as your practice?
We have dabbled a little bit with a couple of smaller companies for voice, but really it gave up on voice. We didn't feel that we were strong enough to provide good solutions. So really our bread and butter really was around the data center, and we've always had a very healthy exchange practice. So when Lync came out, OCS 2007 R2 really was the first product where we could really carry a good dial tone on, and that's when we started looking at the Microsoft product set and saw that, yeah, this looks like there's a future here, and we made a bet on it, and we're happy we did.
Great. So Carmichael, you've obviously been on a long journey with this company, and obviously they've given you good products and services. It's really kind of interesting to see how a data guy gets into some of the voice communications. That's actually pretty exciting, because it always seems to be the other way around. But tell us a little bit about your journey and how you selected the process that you went through to select both Lync and bringing HP into the equation as well.
Well, the main catalyst for us deciding where we wanted to go with unified communications was back in 2012 when we had the Superstorm Sandy. We were virtualized as far as our servers are concerned and our desktops were, but we didn't have a voice solution. We had dial tone, and we were shut out of our building. We had no electricity for 5 days. So we were able to mobilize our desktops to a hotel, but we weren't able to move our voice. So that really hurt us. And we communicated over cell phones, emails. Some of them were delivered, some of them were not. So it was very, very difficult. So even though we were able to show our clients that we're up and running, but we weren't able to talk to them. So that after that, we had to look at our options, whether if staying on the legacy PBX was the way to go or not. So we reached out to DataLink and we told them that we need some options, and it was good timing. They brought Lync to the table. And we looked at Lync, we looked at other options as well, and after seeing what Lync can do for our unified communications, we decided to go with Lync. And so today, God forbid if ever another Sandy stops by, we're prepared to be mobilized and still be operational.
That's amazing. Well, you've had all that bad weather this winter. I'm surprised you haven't had a couple of days where it could have been helpful to be in a remote location.
That's true. That's
like
true.
here in California or in Las Vegas, as opposed to being home. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to be here.
So Carmichael has always invested heavily in HP. used HP storage and HP Blade servers for the private cloud that we are running in HP. We're highly virtualized on terminal servers. That did bring a couple of problems as well, running Lync on terminal servers. But that really was the fit. Lync came into Carmichael in Lync 2010 came in, and we used it as a remote desktop tool. And that's how it kind of progressed into the voice, where we upgraded to 2013, and then we brought SIP trunks in for dial tone.
So we slowly actually integrated. We started Lync using as IMs and desktop sharing, and then now we've now we're in the process of bringing voice to it. So it's natural to our users, so they don't feel that they have to go through a change overnight. So they're adapting very, very well, and they like all the cool features that it has, and how quickly they can get the message across, and get in touch with their colleagues and see what they're doing, and if they're in the office or not. So it's delivered a lot of good features to us.
So you mentioned that you're an HP partner and you've been an HP customer for a long time. I'm kind of curious as how that relationship was as you were going through the process and the support that they gave you and what they're like to partner with.
Well, HP brought a lot to the table, because one of the requirements we had to do was to bring up a new MPLS network between the 12 sites that Carmichael has. So there was some need for some new routing equipment at 2 locations, and we've traditionally been using Cisco on the wide area network, but hey, they priced themselves out of the deal. And HP came in and gave us loaner equipment to actually do a full demo on the new LPLS network, so we knew that this technology would work. We're also running a backup VPN network, so there are some questions about how well would the compatibility be between HP routers and the existing Cisco routers at the branch offices, and getting that VPN up running as our backup network. And so far so good.
What was there's 2 sides to every story. What's your side?
No, it's very, very true. We haven't had a downtime since we actually went live with our new MPLS.
Oh, wow.
It was a 6-month journey where, as locations were being wired up for fiber and we started putting them on the new HP routers, we now have all 13 locations up and running, and we haven't been down a minute.
One of the things that I find fascinating when you look at a case study, and we haven't really gone through it that way here, but what a lot of other customers want to, and I'm sure channel partners as well as end users, what fellow end user would want to know is the lessons that you learn in the process, so that they can make sure that they look out for it. What I found is that while there's always problems, and someone could say, well, this was an issue, well, that issue probably isn't going to be there because someone solved that problem that you may have had. But it's always good to hear, things like, well, it took us a little more time than we thought, or we needed more resources here. So what kind of lessons learned did you have in this whole process?
Well, as far as the end user is concerned, yeah, I mean, timing was a factor. We wanted to be up and running on the new MPLS a lot sooner, so we ran into some obstacles. As far as the deployment of the hardware, I mean, he can shed some more light on as to what challenges he ran into, but as a user, it was just a matter of time. It took us a year since we started, and we're finally finished with the entire deployment of Lync and the new MPLS and the new equipment in place.
Yeah, it's a complicated world.
It is a complicated world until you actually get into it and think, oh.
Technically, we didn't have major problems. We're highly virtualized. We're running Lync on virtual servers on private cloud using Hyper-V. The problems we ran into a little bit was supporting Lync on terminal servers. We still have a little bit of work there to do with stuff like click to dial and how media is being handled by the terminal servers. But we're convinced that we'll find a solution for it. The other thing that's important is selection of endpoint devices. Don't just give users any phone. We went through a couple of different phone models before we actually decided on the phone to
what
use
did
for
you end up
users.
with?
We ended up with Polycom VVX phones. We started out with the CX line, but there's a lot of call transfers going on in Carmichael, and the transfer button was buried under 2 submenus. So it's very important to select the right point of endpoint devices.
Good. Well, one of the things, we started this off talking about how you're working in a mid-market. So I'd like to hear from both of you. We'll start with you on where's the market that you address? What's the sweet spot for you?
The sweet spot for us really is, the 200, 250 seats up to about 5,000 seats. That's our typical client. We do a lot of stuff in both government and we do a lot of stuff in education. Education is very receptive to Lync, especially because of the price points they're getting from Microsoft.
Yeah.
So education is very exciting right now. But smaller companies that like Carmichael has 13 branch offices and are scattered around the country, this solution fits very nicely. We're taking all copper out of any branch offices. There's not going to be any POTS lines in any of the branch offices or PRIs. We're simply going to use 2 SIP trunks, one out of LA and one out of New York, and then a redundant data network between all the sites.
So 13 branch offices, how big is Carmichael and kind of how is that distribution? So what does this look like from a Lync deployment?
Carmichael is about 200 employees nationwide with 13 offices. Our headquarters is in California. They have about 110 employees. The rest of the 90 are in the other 12 branches. The deployment, it was very, very seamless. They helped us very, very much. They did a lot of knowledge transfer. They trained us. They gave some good seminars as to what is Lync about and how you can use it, and gave us some case models. Okay, this is how other clients of theirs are using it, and that gave us a lot of ideas of how we can utilize it. So there was a point where we were contacting people either by phone or by emails, and even the way that our old PBX worked is that it was always a 2-step process where you called somebody. If that's the person you had to talk to, well, good. If not, you had to be transferred to somebody else. But now that has all changed. Now I can directly connect with that one person and also know before I contact them that what they're doing with Lync, for instance. So that has really, really helped us quite a bit. So it's reduced time in getting in touch with the person and exactly know what they're doing before you reach out to them. So that's really helped us.
This has been enlightening because, even though I know better, I still am kind of stereotyping both Microsoft and HP as big iron. They're big companies, big solutions that they're providing. Like I said, Microsoft started off at 2,500 users and above. To hear that they've come down, and it's obviously a solution for that. And the same thing that you as a customer, 200 employees, multiple locations, it's the solution that works for you too.
Right.
Well, I think working with a partner like DataLink, really gives the customer that personal attention that you may not get directly from Microsoft or from HP, and we as partners can easily find the right persons or the right resources within these big silos that Microsoft and HP is. So
yeah. So I always like to end this because we go through a lot of stuff. We're going through it very quickly. Is there anything else you'd like to say? I'm trying to ask the provocative questions to help educate the people that are watching this. Anything else you'd like to add to what we've talked about?
Well, I think just, even if you are an SMB and you only have, these 200-300 users, Lync is still a viable option, and it doesn't have to fit a Fortune 500. That's what we found.
And I'll second that. If you're a small company between 200 to 500 employees, then I would tell you, don't be scared to take out that journey. Take the first step. I did it, and I didn't care what obstacle I'm going to run into. I took that first step, and today I'm here.
Good combination of partners. So, well, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.